Hi, I'm Shivani from poweredbysearch.com, and today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about navigating your Google Analytics to get insights about what's happening on your website. So once you've signed in, you just want to click on the name of your blog or website. So I've opened up the Google Analytics account for troyfox.com. Troy is one of our employees here at Powered by Search. So what you first see when you log in is this graph over here, and this graph represents the number of visits per day. And you can go to the top right hand corner over here and change the date range, and you can change it to anything. It could be for today, yesterday, last week, last month. I'm going to change this to last month. So now it's going to show the statistics for January 2014. And another interesting thing that you can do is change it to hourly, weekly, monthly. So you can choose to analyze the data according to your needs. So below the graph over here, you can see there are a lot of numbers, a lot of different terms, and these terms might sound confusing or even similar, so I'm going to tell you the difference between all of them. So let's start off with visits. Visits mainly represent the number of individual sessions initiated by all of the visitors to your site. So if a user is inactive on your site for 30 minutes or more, any future activity is counted as a new session. So any user that leaves your site and returns within 30 minutes is counted as one visit. So basically, a user can open multiple visits, and those visits can occur on the same day or even over several days. And there are mainly two methods by which a visit ends. One is after every 30 minutes of inactivity by the user, and the other one is at the end of the day at midnight. Moving on to the next term here, unique visitors. Unique visitors are simply the total number of people that visited your blog for a specific time period. And this has nothing to do with the number of pages they visited or how long they stayed on the blog. It's just the total number of people that opened your blog. Moving on to page views. Page views are the total number of pages loaded on the blog for a specific time period. So each time a page is opened in the browser, a page view is recorded. Pages per visit. Pages per visit are a calculation of the average number of pages per visitor. So on an average, each visitor viewed between 1 to 2 pages per visit. Average visit duration is the average time spent on the blog by each visitor. So on an average, each visitor spent 1 minute and 12 seconds per visit. Bounce rate. Bounce rate represents the number of people who visited the site, viewed one page, and left. So basically, it's the percentage of one-page visits. Now, TroyFox.com had 84.54% as the bounce rate for the month of January. And this could mean two things. Either those 85% were very satisfied with the one page that they viewed and they found exactly what they were looking for and they didn't need to view any other page because they got the information they required. So they came, viewed that page, got what they wanted, and left. Or the page that they viewed was of no use to them at all, so they simply exited the site. So it could really work two ways, but generally a lower bounce rate is preferred. Now, a similar term that's not included on the site is exit rate. And exit rate and bounce rate sound similar, but they're different. Exit rate mainly applies to specific pages on your site, and that is the exit pages. So the page that the viewer last viewed before leaving the site. So they may or may not have landed on that page, but that was the last page that they viewed before leaving the site. So that means that they may have viewed more than one page on the site before they left, but the exit page was the last one that they viewed. And like bounce rates, high exit rates are not preferred, but they're good for revealing problematic areas on your site. So you should definitely have a look at your exit pages and see which areas on your website need improvement. And then the last term that we have here is percentage of new visit, which is exactly just what it sounds like. So basically it means that 89.36% of the unique visitors in January were completely new people who had never visited the blog before. And if you look to the right over here, you have a pie chart that represents new and returning visitors. And according to it, in the month of January, there are approximately 11% returning visitors and 89% new visitors. And it's always good to get new visitors, but you do have to put in effort to have the old visitors coming back to your site again and again. And another term that isn't shown here, but I do want to talk about is unique page views. And yes, it is different from page views. So unique page views are actually a subset of page views. So they're always going to be lower than the total page views. And in the case of unique page views, each visitor is counted only once, irregardless of how many pages he or she opens. And unique page views are mainly different from total page views because they eliminate multiple page views from the same person. So if a person visits a site 5 times, it is counted as 5 page views, but only one unique page view because all of them came from the same person. And one thing that becomes a little confusing here is the difference between unique page views and unique visitors. A unique visitor is equivalent to a cookie in the browser. So whenever you visit a website, you get a cookie that stays in the browser until you delete it. So if you visit a site twice and you delete the cookie after your first visit, your second visit will be counted as an entirely new visit. So you'll be counted as 2 unique visitors. So it could be simply explained as unique visitors being how many different cookies have visited the site. And unique page views, on the other hand, are just unique visits to a page. So numerous visits to a particular page are only counted as one unique page view. So if I open a website, the home page, click on a particular post, and then go back to the home page did get 2 hits from me. And it was opened twice and it's counted as 2 page views, but only one unique page view. Another cool little trick that you could do here is click on any one of these terms and have the graph above represent it and completely change. So if you want to have a look at unique visitors in depth, you just click on that and start analyzing. And like I mentioned earlier, you can view this hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and you can completely change the time range to anything that you like. So as you can see, Google Analytics is very, very detailed. And below the graph and the terms that I just discussed, there's some other information over here about demographics and languages. And I'm not going to get into that right now because it's also part of the standard reports in the sidebar over here. So I'm going to be discussing it in detail later. So before I start with the sidebar over here, I want to cover the tabs on top. So right now we're in the reporting tab, and if I click this little home icon here, it takes me to the page that we started at. And this page here just shows how many sites are linked to this analytics account. Now if I click on customization here, it allows me to create custom reports. Custom reports are basically summaries of all of the analytics data, and you choose which data you want to be a part of your report, whatever you feel is important or whatever you're concentrating on. And if it's made the right way, these reports can be incredible time savers. Now, this account doesn't have any custom reports created, but I'm going to show you how to make one right now. So first things first, you click on New Custom Report. You give your report a name, and I'm going to name mine Traffic Summary. Then you want to choose your report type, and for this you have 3 options: Explorer, Flat Table, and Map Overlay. And I'm going to go with Flat Table. So it's going to give me my information in a tabular form. And then I'm going to choose Dimensions and Metric. Now a dimension is like a descriptive characteristic and a metric is like an individual element. And they're related in the sense that metrics are individual elements of dimensions. So dimensions are often associated with one or more metrics. So I'm going to go ahead and choose them, and you're definitely going to understand dimensions and metrics in more depth after I'm done choosing them. So I'm going to add my metrics first. I'm going to add page views. Let's add unique visitors. So I'm done adding my metrics. Now I'm going to add my dimensions. I'm going to add source. And let's add country. So these dimensions and metrics are going to be a part of my flat table. And an easy way to explain this is that the metrics are going to be like the columns of the table and the dimensions are going to be like the rows. So basically I'm going to have a lot of information about the page views, the unique visitors, and how much time the visitors are spending on the page, all of that based on the source where they're coming from and the country where they're coming from. But you'll understand that in more detail once I click save and the table is generated. And you can also add a filter if you like, and it'll just help out in leaving out things that you don't want in case you don't want all of the data to be a part of the table. So once you're done adding your filter, if you want that and all of your dimensions and metrics, you're just going to click on save. And it's going to give you a report. So here in the table, I have my 2 dimensions, source and country. And then I have all of my metrics: page views, unique visitors, average time on page, and bounce rate. So basically it shows me all the metrics for the different countries that they're coming from and the sources that they're coming from. So now that you know how to generate a custom report, we're going to move on to the admin tab. You can have access to information such as account, and property, and those are really more important to the actual owner of the blog. So you can access things such as your account settings, your property settings, and all of that. But what I mainly want to talk to you about is all of the information over here. So if you click on view settings over here, you can see some information regarding the time zone of your blog, e-commerce settings, and site search tracking, etc. But I'm not going to click on it because it has some confidential information such as the view ID, so I'm going to skip that part. And you can also check out the goals and the filters area, but there aren't any set for this account at the moment. But mainly you can just set some goals which are just the main things that you want your visitors to do. And it's a good way to measure how many times a visitor completes one of your goals and a conversion takes place. And filters over here allow you to limit specific data that you don't want to be a part of a report. And below that, we have personal tools and assets. So we have segments over here which allow you to isolate specific types of traffic within your Google Analytics reporting. Then we have annotations, and they're mainly for letting users leave notes on the graph, so you can mark important happenings according to the date on which they happen. So let's create an annotation right now. You're going to go back to the reporting tab, and I'm going to create an annotation for the month with the highest traffic. So Troy's blog was actually started in June 2010, but he didn't make an analytics account till January 2013. So I'm going to set this date to January 2013. It's going to be a custom date. And it's going to be till February 2014. And I'm going to set this to month. So traffic-wise, his highest month was in October 2013, and it had 1,421 visits. So to create an annotation, I'm just going to click on this little arrow below here, and I'm going to click on Create New Annotation. So this is going to be for October. I'm going to click on October. I'm going to have to click on that again. So it's set for 1st October 2013, and I'm just going to write highest traffic till present, and that is beginning of February 2014. And then you're just going to click on save, and that's how you make an annotation. So I'm going to go back into the admin area, and there's our annotation, highest traffic till present. And the next thing that we have to discuss is attribution models. Now, attribution modeling is an intense topic and also a very broad topic. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I'm planning on making a separate video for that, but I am going to give an introduction. Attribution modeling is basically concerned with determining the value of each customer touchpoint that leads to a conversion, and it really helps in understanding your customer's journey. So to make an attribution model, you click on New Attribution Model, and you give your model a name. I'm not going to actually make it, but I'm going to give you a brief introduction of it. And then you choose one of the baseline models. So you have the options of linear, first interaction, last interaction, time decay, and position based. In the linear attribution model, each touchpoint in the conversion path shares equal credit for the sale. So if there's a conversion path with 4 channels, each channel would get credit for 25% of the conversion. And this is a good way to evaluate the overall contribution of your channels. In first interaction, the first touchpoint receives 100% of the credit for the sale. And this is a great method for new companies who want to know how people find them the first time and convert. Last interaction model is the one in which the last touchpoint gets 100% of the credit for the sale. In the time decay model, the touchpoints that are closest in time to the sale or conversion get the credit. And this is something that you would want to use when there's a promotional offer going on your site. In position-based, 40% of the credit is given to the first and the last interaction, and the remaining get 20% distributed amongst them evenly. So that was just a brief explanation of attribution models. And then we have custom channel grouping. A channel grouping is a set of labels where each label is applied to a channel or a group of channels that you would like to see in your report. So when you define the channel grouping, you specify which channels belong to which label. And then we have custom alerts. So Google Analytics has an engine that monitors your traffic and your posts and alerts if it sees something unusual. So if your traffic drastically drops, it will alert you. So let's try creating one. You're going to click on New Alert, and I'm going to make an alert for when the traffic increases to over 2,000 page views a month, because I've noticed that Troy's blog is getting around 1,800 page views a month on an average. And I guess 2000 would be the next milestone. So when it crosses 2000, he'll get a notification. So once you're done filling in all the information, you're just going to click on Save Alert. Then we have scheduled emails. So with scheduled emails, Google lets you export any of your reports and you can schedule it to be emailed daily, weekly, monthly, even quarterly. So for this, you go to your reporting tab and you click on email and you can write in your email address and you can check if you want it to be sent to you weekly, daily, whatever you like, even quarterly. So that's how you would schedule an email. And going back to the admin area, we have shortcuts left. Shortcuts are actually really cool. They remember your settings, so you don't have to reconfigure a report each time you open it. So to create a shortcut, you go over to the reporting tab and basically you just make some customizations according to your needs, and then you can save it as a shortcut and it'll show up in your dashboards. So let's say that I want to create a shortcut for a report that compares visits and page views monthly. So I have visits. I'm going to select a second metric, page views, and I'm going to switch that to monthly. And let's do that for last month, just so that it shows us the graph like a little dot. So when you hover over the dot, it tells you the visits and the page views. So basically now this graph is going to give me a comparison of my visits versus my page views each month. Now to save this, I click on shortcut over here and give it a name. I save that, and now we have it as a shortcut on the side. And all the shortcuts that I create are going to be here in a list form. And when I click on my shortcut, it's going to come up. So this is a really good time saver. And the last thing that we have to discuss in the admin area are share assets. And they mainly allow you to share custom reports and add dashboards. So now that we're done discussing all of the tabs above, we can go back into reporting and discuss the sidebar over here. So on the left hand side over here, I have my stuff, which begins with dashboards. So if I click on my dashboard, all this stuff pops up. And we get all of these widgets over here all on one page. So you can click on add a widget above and you can add anything else that you wish to. And you can click on X on any of the widgets if you want to get rid of them. And basically this is what every analytics account gets, but you can completely X out all of them and remove all of them, or create a completely new customized dashboard according to your needs. And the Google Analytics dashboard system is great because it's like a little summary. So if you're ever short on time but you still want to see your performance, you could just log in, quickly have a look at your customized dashboard, sync in the information, and quickly log out. After dashboards, we have shortcuts here, which I just showed you earlier. And if you click on overview, all of your shortcuts come up on one page. After that, we have intelligence events. And you can view them daily, weekly, or monthly. And they're mainly of two types, automatic alerts and custom alerts. So automatic alerts take place when Google Analytics detects a significant change in traffic patterns on your site. And custom alerts are the ones that you create yourself, like the one I created earlier to notify Troy when his page views exceed 2,000 for any of the future months. So that's mainly what intelligence events are about. Moving on to the standard reports. The first thing that we have is real time. Let's click on overview. So it shows us that at the moment there are 0 visitors on the site right now. And mainly it just gives us some information related to the visitors that are on your site at the moment. So right now there are 0 visitors, but if there was one or more than one visitor, it would have given me information about the page views that the person is viewing. Oh, so that just changed to 1 visitor. Great. So it tells us that this visitor is from Ottawa and is viewing the About page. And it also tells us the page views per minute. So 1 page view for the last minute, page views per second. And if I click on traffic sources, it tells me that the person is viewing the About page and the person directly came to the site. So real time is great for showing you who's on your site at the moment, and it may not always be 100% accurate, but it is still really interesting to look at. So since this visitor came to the site directly by just punching in the URL into the address bar above, it doesn't tell us about the referral sources or social sources because it didn't come from a social media source or a referral source. But if there were more than one visitors, if there were 5 or 6 visitors and one of them came from a referral source, it would have shown up over here. It also does not tell us about the keywords, and that's just how Google Analytics is. Sometimes it doesn't give you information about keywords, but that's just how it is. So yeah, real time is actually really interesting. And then we have audience. I'm just going to click on overview. So it brings us back to the exact same graph that we saw at the beginning of this video. So you have the graph over here, you have the terms, and you can click it to hour, daily, monthly, weekly. You can change the date range. You have the pie chart over here. So all the same things that we saw above. Now, one thing that I didn't discuss in detail before was about language, demographics, and all of that. So if I click on language, it tells me about the different languages that the people are speaking who are visiting the blog. Country tells me which country they're coming from. So United States is bringing in the most traffic and India is number 2. And if I click on city, it tells me how much traffic is coming from which cities. And I can also view the information according to the browser, which browser they're using while browsing the site, the operating system they're using, which service provider they're using, and just a lot of information like that. So these are just some of the more technical things that you could have a look into. It tells you about their screen resolution, so that's something that you could look into, and it could be important to you for the design of your website. So basically all of these things are there in the sidebar as well. And if I click on visitors flow, this really interesting sort of map type looking thing pops up. So this shows us where the visitors are coming from if that's what you choose. And it's really interesting because it shows you the path that your visitors take while they're on your site. So right now it's set to country, but I could change that to anything that I like. Let's change that to source. So now it completely changes and it tells us where the people are coming from and where they're going. So it tells us that for the month of January 2014, 990 people came from Google. And some people came directly, some people came through Facebook, and some other sources. So people who came from Google mainly went to this page over here. So this tells us that this is one of the top performing pages. I guess something that would have a great rank in Google. Some of them went to this page over here and just various pages on the website. So it mainly tells us where they came from, the first page they viewed, the next page they viewed, and which were some of the exit pages. So you can sort of trace the path that the visitors went through while they were on the site, where they came from, where they went after that. So it's showing me that some people came from Google and they went to this page over here, how to speak clearly. Then they went to this one over here, how to improve speaking skills in 7 steps. Then they went to 13 additional pages. So it tells you a lot about the source that they're coming from, the starting pages, first interaction, second interaction. And one thing that I can see over here is that most of the Google traffic is leading to this page over here, but the visitors are not visiting any page after this. So this is one of the exit pages. So this, just like real time, is one of the really interesting things that you can have a look at in Google Analytics. And you can also change the level of detail. So you can go towards show more connections and really go into the details of the visitor flow. So after audience, we have acquisition. I'm going to click on overview. And this is one of my favorite parts of Google Analytics because it tells you where your visitors came from, how you acquired them. So it tells you how many of them came from Google through organic search, how many directly punched in your URL into the address bar and came to your site, how many came through referral sources, social, and other sources. So if you click on these in the sidebar over here, it just gives you a lot more information in depth. So I can click on channels. It'll tell me all the channels and it'll tell me the visits per channel, percentage of new visits, the amount of new visits, the bounce rate. So it'll give me all of that information for all the different channels. And for even more information, I can click on all traffic over here. And it'll tell me the names and the URLs of the places where the traffic is coming from. So a lot of it is coming from Google and it's organic traffic, which is excellent. A lot of it is direct, some of it is from Facebook, and then we have some other sites over here which are referral sites, so that's actually really good. And you can go to the second page of this and really look into detail and see where your traffic is coming from, which websites are referring to you, which websites are linking to you. Then if you want to have a look at referrals in more detail, you can click on all referrals and it tells you all the sites that are referring to you. Then we have campaigns. Campaigns mainly give you information on how well your campaigns are working. So if you're running a Google AdWords campaign, this is the place that you would want to be. And then we have keywords. No point in clicking paid because there have never been any AdWord campaigns for this blog. But if you click on organic here, it tells you the different keywords that you're ranking for and different keywords that people are searching in Google and finding your blog, clicking on your link, and actually coming to your blog. So these are some different keywords over here that the blog is ranking for. And then we have cost analysis. The cost analysis report shows data for the performance of your paid marketing channels. So it compares the cost of each campaign with its revenue and helps in calculating the ROI. And it's really helpful in letting you know how each campaign performs, and it's great for getting insights on Google AdWords and even other non-Google search engine campaigns. Then we have Google AdWords. So Google AdWords is an excellent place to be if you have an AdWords campaign going on, and you can link your AdWords account to your analytics account and get plenty of information on how your campaign is doing. And linking your AdWords and your analytics to each other is highly recommended because it allows you to view your AdWords click and cost data alongside your analytics site engagement data. So it's quite helpful. And once you have that done, you can just check out how your campaign is going, adjust bids, have a look at your keywords and clicks, and match search queries, which allow you to see search queries that match your keyword list, and just see how people are searching related to your products or services and refine your keywords accordingly. Day parts over here let you view your stats based on a specific hour of the day and day of the week based on your time zone. And this is great if you're selling products or services within a particular region or country. And this is an advantage to those people who want to target their ads to specific hours of the day or days of the week. But if you're selling worldwide, this won't be of much concern to you. Then we have destination URLs, which tell you about the URLs on your site to which you redirected visitors from your AdWord ads. The next thing that we have is the placement tool, and it's actually quite similar to the search focus keyword tool in AdWords. And it helps you in locating placements to target, so you can punch in a word or a phrase and get back recommended placements, input a URL of the type of a site that you would like to advertise on, or a category of sites that you're interested in. And keyword positions over here lets you see the keywords for which your ads were displayed and the number of visitors those ads brought to your site and which position these ads appeared in the search results. And then after AdWords, we have social. Now, social displays the amount of visits that came from social networks. So if I click on overview, it tells me that from 1,203 visits last month, 22 came from social networking sites. So it tells us which sites those visits came from, such as Facebook, Twitter, and some other sites over here. And you can also click on view full report to go into details. So compared to 1,200 plus visits, 22 is quite a low number, and this is something that can definitely be improved because we all know the power of social media and bringing in traffic for blogs. And if we click on network referrals here on the side, it lets us go into more depth, and it tells us how many visits came from each network, how many page views they generated, and how long the visitors from each social network stayed on the site. So it gives you insights on how each social network is performing, which ones are your top networks, and the ones which you need to concentrate on more. Then we have Data Hub activity, which generates a report which shows us how people are talking about and engaging with your site on social networks. And it hasn't been activated over here, but it allows you to see the most recent URLs people have shared, where they have shared them, and what they've said. But mainly, in order for this to work, you need to publish a global activity feed from your social network, and those feeds need to be delivered to the social data hub. And this blog has not done that, so unfortunately I can't go into much detail here. But after that, we have landing pages, which show you the pages people are landing on from social networks. And on the side here, we have a bunch of metrics that we've seen before and we've discussed, and it's all pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to get into that. But if I click on one of the URLs, it tells me how many clicks came from which social network, and it also gives me two graphs over here, which show me the visits for the URL versus the visits from social network. Then we have trackbacks, which let you know which sites on the internet are talking about your content and linking to it. So it lets you see all of the backlink URLs to your site. So in the month of January, Troy got a link from the Powered by Search blog for one of the articles that he wrote. Moving on to conversions. The conversions report lets you know the value of your social traffic. So it shows the number of conversions that take place and the monetary value of each of them. Plugins let you know which social sharing or following buttons are clicked on and for which content. So if you have a Google Plus One button or a Facebook Like button on your site, you would want to have this section functioning so you can know which articles of yours are being liked or shared or plus one and are socially successful. And then lastly, we have visitors flow, which is just like the visitors flow chart we saw earlier, except that this time it shows visits coming from social networks, but you can change that to anything you like, of course. Moving on to search engine optimization. If I click on queries, it shows me what people are filling into Google to reach your blog. So these are the keywords and key phrases that people are filling into Google and your site is showing up for them and people are clicking on it and reaching your site. So it shows you the impressions, that is how many times you're showing up for the specific keyword. And it shows you how many clicks you're getting for the number of impressions. And then based on these two numbers, it shows you the click-through rate. And an interesting thing over here that it shows you is your average position. So it's telling me that Speaking Skills has an average position of number 3 on Google. And of course that moves up and down. Landing pages show you the main pages of your site visitors are landing on when they click on a query for the terms that you're ranking for in Google. And the results that we have here are very similar to the queries we saw earlier. So you can see the page for Speaking Skills bringing in the second most amount of traffic. And geographical summary tells you where your most search traffic is coming from, country-wise. And as you can see, this blog is doing pretty well in India and the US. And the first page over here just tells you your top 10 countries, but you could, click on the arrow and get into more detail. Moving on to behavior. Now the overview over here is pretty much just a repeat of what we saw earlier, so I'm going to skip that. But if I click on behavior flow, it gives us another one of those flow charts showing the path that visitors take, and it's based on landing pages, but you can change that, of course. Then we have site content. Now I'm going to skip the first three because they're pretty general and self-explanatory, but I am going to explain exit pages. Exit pages, like I mentioned earlier, are the last pages that your visitors view before leaving your site. And they're considered problematic areas because you want people to stay on your site for as long as possible, and you want to prevent them from exiting for as long as you possibly can. So it's great that Google Analytics lets you know your exit pages so that you can improve on those areas. And a solution here would be to interlink your posts. So after reading the post, your visitors find another post to read, so that way they stay on the site much longer. Site speed tells you information on your site's loading time, such as the page load time, redirection time, page download time, and more. And if you click on page timings, it shows you your pages. And if I click on average page load time, it gives me the load time per second. And the ones over here in red are the problem pages that possibly have a really large image or too many images or just some back-end error that's really slowing down the page. And you really want to look into these pages because site speed is one of the ranking factors in Google. Speed suggestions is great because Google Analytics sort of runs a test on your pages, analyzes the speed, and gives you suggestions on how to improve speed of those pages. So you should definitely look into this. So if I click on the first page over here, it starts analyzing the page and ends up giving me suggestions on how to improve the speed. So that's something that's really interesting. Then we have site search. Now, site search has not been set up on this blog, but site search mainly gives information on how the search engine on your site is being used. And by search engine on your site, I mainly mean the Google search bar that some blogs have on their site. So the site search reports provide information on how many of the visitors on your site use the search engine on it and what they search for. Event tracking lets you track your user interactions such as downloads, ad clicks, flash elements, video plays, and much more. And then we have the AdSense area. Now, Troy's blog is not monetized, so I'm not going to be able to give too much information about AdSense, but I'm still going to give a brief introduction. The AdSense area over here just gives you a little summary of what's going on with your AdSense account, how much money you're making with your ads, the number of ad clicks you're getting, and which ad sizes are doing better than others. So that's basically all I can tell you about AdSense in relation to this analytics account, but we do have an entire AdSense tutorial planned for the future, so stay tuned for that video. Experiments lets you test different landing pages to see which ones help the most in goal completion, and it allows you to test up to 5 different variations of a page. So basically you fill your URL and you click on start experimenting, and I won't be able to show that because I'm not an account administrator, but it's all pretty basic. Then we have conversions. The first thing we have in relation to that is goals. Now goals help you in measuring how well your site achieves its targets. So it helps in keeping track of conversions that take place. E-commerce is great to use if you're selling a product on your site, so it reports all of the e-commerce activity on your site. And multi-channel funnels basically give you an idea of how your marketing channels work together to generate sales and conversions. And the reports are generated from conversion paths and the sequences of interactions that take place and lead up to each conversion and transaction. Attribution, which we did before as well, just evaluates the effectiveness of your channels and traces your visitors' paths to conversion. So that was an explanation of Google Analytics. I hope this video helped you all in understanding analytics better, and I hope it helps you in analyzing your account for your blog or site. And if you have any questions, then please comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks a lot for watching, and don't forget to visit our blog at www.poweredbysearch.com/blog.